What is going on live once again? I'm Celso Oliveira. I'm here with Eric Holstrom. This is Section 128, an LAFC podcast. Thank you so much for your support. Our last show had more viewers than any other episode, so very, very cool to see. And it was a crazy one because we talked about such a big loss. And unfortunately, Eric and I are going to be talking yet about another loss today. A bad one. But first, as usual, our friends from Fugazi. What is going on? Celso here with Eric. Eric, I go directly to you as I usually do. LAFC gets beat up once again, this time at home by another, I would say, mid-tier team, maybe not even one of the best teams in the Western Conference. And we once again saw the worst of LAFC. Now 3 spankings under Marc Santos in a very short period of time. So how are you feeling, man? Welcome to the Monday show.
Hey, yeah, Monday. Thank goodness this weekend is behind us.
Yeah, man, it's been something to watch this team and how they've been progressing. And before I go any further here, I just want to show one little clip of this. We usually don't do the goals anymore, but I think this one is worth talking about. And let's just go directly to it so that you can just really give me your all here. A familiar setting here for someone that's been here before. I'm talking about nobody else other than Matty Bogusz.
Come out in the middle. Lename comes inside, lovely ball. McGlynn, he's got Bogusz out wide of him. Bogusz in behind, could go for goal! And it stings the palms of the race. He has a second chance, and it's in! Flag stares down, Matty Bogusz declines to celebrate, scoring against his former club. But that is a dagger.
Yeah! It's the dagger, Eric. It's the dagger. That was the dagger. So let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about the fact that the Houston Dynamo came into our house and in 55 minutes a game just ended that game for us. How are you feeling about that?
Well, as the sheriff said in a very obscure movie the kids probably don't remember called Pootie Tang, it looks like they really smacked like a bitch. And we got smacked like a bitch in this game. Holy shit. I mean, from... it's the same crap. Players playing, looking for calls. We have exhausted guys. You could tell they're tired for sure. But again, it's hard to have the sympathy for this because we were beating the drum for so long. Like, you got to rest these guys. You got to rest these guys. But they just kept playing. And so now they're gassed. We're going to St. Louis on Wednesday. Horrible team. Absolutely need 3 points out of this at this point. I mean, we'll see. That the team looks pretty fucking broken at this point right now. So they're going to have to get together. And then after Wednesday, we are heading down to Nashville next weekend. Nashville's got a bit of a hangover as well. But, I mean, Nashville is one of the top teams in the league this year as well. Yes. Fortunately for injuries, we're probably not going to see a couple of their main players. I think Surridge is out. But still, regardless, so – we might see a 0-0 defensive battle in that because we have a tough time scoring too.
It seems like that, man. And let's break it down then once again. LAFC 1, Houston 4. So a couple of notes from the game just from the beginning. And 99 was missing. No Denis Bouanga. I believe it was card accumulation. So he sits out. And you would see, obviously, how he's important to this team. Whether you're a Sonny fan or not, whether you've been following LAFC for a long time or not, I've been saying and beating the same drum that this is Denis Bouanga's team because when he produces, our team does well. When that's not the case, the team struggles, and he wasn't there, and nobody stepped up. Also, we had Sonny playing basically the 10 again, and Nate the Great Ordaz was basically up top. That's what I saw there. What did you think of the lineup? We saw Eustáquio starting and Tim Tillman, the big villain of the game before that in Mexico City, which I thought it was a mistake. But what did you think of the starting lineup after the loss to Cruz Azul, to Toluca, and to come in here again? He seems like he tried to go with a 4-back this time, but still Steady Eddie was the left back, and I have something to talk about that. What did you feel about Marc dos Santos on his post-elimination starting lineup for LAFC?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any problems with the lineup, honestly. I like seeing Ordaz and Martinez and Sonny in there together. So that's cool. Schaffelberg, I expected that because Bouanga is out. We kind of saw it again. Schaffelberg is basically just a crossing machine. So, I'm not sure how this really is going to work out with the rest of the team because we don't really have that target guy. But I like his energy. I like his hustle. So, that's that. Midfield, okay. a little surprised with Eustachio. If we decide to keep him from the loan, I am pretty sure, not 100%, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have to use a DP slot for him because we need to amortize the transfer fee, which I think is over $7 million. Not sure if he's a guy we want to pay that much money to bring on, especially when we have Amin Bodri, who has been injured, but before he got injured, looked very exciting, and hopefully he's going to be recovering and coming back fine. Jude Terry scored an absolute banger on Saturday. I want to see Jude Terry getting more first-team minutes. Even if he's not our best option in midfield, he's going to have a bigger ceiling than the other guys we have out there. So throw him in there, get the kid some minutes, and let's get him improving so he can become a lockdown starter towards the end of the season or next year. And that's kind of what I want to see.
More youth player talk, and you and I have talked about this because I feel like that's also waving a little bit of a white flag, right? And if you break this game down, right, Eric, and if you watched it, and I just rewatched it a little bit before the show, the first 20 minutes, LAFC looked good. LAFC looked like the better team, the attacker, and the team that really wanted to basically get the win. And I saw some fight from these guys, but the goal didn't show up. And I saw a couple of things that were intriguing to me. One is that David Martinez is still kind of trying to carry this team around, and at times he's very successful. But two, I also feel like he doesn't trust his teammates very much outside of maybe Sonny, and they still don't have that kind of, I would say, chemistry, right? But at some point, he looks to his left, and the choices are I can shoot on goal or I can give the ball to Eddie Segura. Eddie Segura is a center back playing fullback. So what do you think of this? Sometimes David Martinez being labeled as egotistical and sort of like fominha, as we say in Brazil. But if he looks to his side, he's like, I ain't passing the ball to Eddie. Or am I going to pass it to Jacob Schaffelberg so he can immediately cross it out of here? Or am I going to pass it to Delgado so he just can pass it back to someone? So I do believe creative players have a hard time with LAFC currently just because of there's just no options. Look at him. Am I crazy?
No. I mean, it's hard to say because at one point when we get down into the box, number one, teams are basically they're low blocking us when we get down there, parking the bus. And so it's a very congested box. So usually the only options are to be back to the perimeter unless you get a really good give and go, which the players don't really do that much. Even last night, we saw them kind of on the wrong side at times. Martinez put behind the line ball for Son, but Son played short, so we see a lot of miscommunication with the guys. And I think where they are right now with Martinez, for example, it's like, where are the goals coming from? Like, they kind of need to come from him at this point because Schaffelberg's not really scoring. He's going to be crossing again, and Son has just been getting bottled up. And when it comes to being in a shooting position, Sonny just is not getting the shooting positions, whether it's, the positioning in the other team or his own work rate. At the end of the day, it's not getting done. I don't want to point fingers on it. I think there's plenty of fingers to go around everywhere. This is just a team that's not clicking right now. And that's why, for me, looking at this, and we spoke about it a bit through this contest, and we always said, this fall, this team needs to look a lot different than it does now. And I think that's becoming really painfully obvious at this point. I think this is too much of Dolo Ball team, which is kind of the transition ball, which they're built for. Our midfielders are built for chasing the ball. MDS has spoken that I think he really wants to have more of a possession based to keep the guys from tiring and running down. But if you look
They're
at
exhausted.
Yeah. And if you're going to play more of a possession game, your players are going to stay fresher at things.
Yes.
You're not going to get
to play
transition
possession
moments, but you're going to have slow build-up plays. And we don't have the creative midfielders with Delgado and Tillman. They're not suited to play that game at all. Bouanga is not suited to play that game at all.
I mean, Fluffhead has it here. Fluffhead is saying Delgado has looked really off, but I think some of it is because he's covering too much ground and he's being asked too many things, and he's more of a specialist. And, again, he's an aging guy. Like, the Galaxy let him go for a reason because they knew that they had some depth behind him and he couldn't just play 90 minutes for them anymore. That's the reason why he left and it bargained for us. So, the rest is history, but that's the reason why Marc Delgado's with LAFC. So I want to bring another clip of the game, which is the sole goal that LAFC scored, which was scored by Nathan Ordaz. And it was a good hustle goal, which started and it worked because, in my opinion, Son Heung-min had an unbelievable pass that found Schaffelberg. Schaffelberg only knows how to do one thing, and this time it worked. So let's watch this go here because I think it's interesting, at least mentioning the fact that Sonny's doing his part, right? And whether you don't like the fact that he's not scoring goals, maybe it's by design, right? But at the same time, he's not scoring the goals. That's also a fact.
He's the assist leader in the league right now.
Two things can be true at the same time. So if you're Sonny Hat, if you're watching us, please recognize that we're giving this man some credit where it's worth it. But at the same time, the dude has not scored. And whether it's his fault or not, we need to understand what the hell is happening. That happened to Carlos Vela. Go look him up if you're not an LAFC fan or if you just became one. Go look him up, who he is and what he's become with us over the history here. Let's watch this goal. I think it's a very interesting goal, how it's built. And this is the kind of goal I want to see more from LAFC. Cohesion. Let's go. Oh, shit. Wrong one. We don't want to. Oh, no, that was right. I'm sorry. I messed this up. My bad. I'm going to do it again. That's my fault because I played them out of order too. So the thing was, it was 2-0 Houston. And then we actually get a go back and say, hey, we're back, baby. We're able to do this. We can do this. We can actually break through this and act. There it is. I'm gonna just return it just a little bit. Here we go. What a through ball. There it was. Nate the Great Ordaz scored the goal, man. I don't know if you said something about being someone else, but he was the one that got in there, right? So
no, I like him up front. I like Son Ordaz.
By the way, look who scored for us. Look who scored for LAFC. It was Nate. It was Nate. Yep. So 2 things on that goal that I saw, right, that I want you to comment on. First off, the through ball from Sonny, which I thought was great. And then secondly, Nathan Ordaz finds the back of the net. Go.
Yeah. Sonny obviously knows how to play the game. He's a good player. I see people Ivan takes. I know Ivan likes to rile people up, but to get the Son off the team, and there's a couple because his numbers for what we pay. It's like I get it, but none of our offense is clicking at all right now, and so we've been riding this wave through a really good defense and not conceding goals and a lot of clean sheets. And a lot of 1-0s. And, that's how we've been winning. Now that our defense is falling apart, I mean, how many goals is this in the last 4 games? We've given up like 14 goals or something like that. It's just, which is probably 3 times more goals than we've given up the entire rest of the season before that. So, the problems are all kinds. I know we're talking about the offense here, but as far as Sonny, it was a good pass. Schaffelberg did his thing. Ordaz got a hustle goal. Ordaz kind of scores hustle goals. He's not the most clinical finisher we have, but what he lacks in that, he just makes up for with pure effort, and that's kind of what he does. So I don't mind seeing it. And as we'll get into the roster build again, he's also a homegrown, which has huge benefits here in MLS, and I think it's a path we need to lean more on if we are going to compete in this tournament, because the current salary cap rules really are not enough for MLS teams, and I think that's becoming very obvious at this point.
So I really want to talk about Ryan Porteous, because if you watch the second goal, first off, and I do believe this is by design at all, also is the fact that he's going up at times trying to be involved in the offensive side of the ball. And if you watch the second goal, Guilherme has a really good play on him, switches around, and he's beaten. And then Porteous is out of position for as long as I've seen him. So when you bring up Dolo ball, you do not see that kind of, I would say, creativity from a center back going halfway through the field during the 40th minute of the game. That burns your guys out. You know who I used to see do that all the time? Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley with some of these guys. And that tired us out. And suddenly we find ourselves at the other end of games that were 4-1 to the other team at home against Minnesota. On a midweek, we were like, what the hell just happened to us? Dolo didn't allow that to happen to us. We would lose 1-0 in a boring-ass game, but I don't recall this many times getting beat up like this by any team when we were under Dolo, and that's why I miss him. We always had a chance under that man. It was boring as fuck. So as much as I like your comparison with Dolo ball, I'm not seeing it, bro, because at 55 minutes, and this is the last we'll say about this game before going into roster building in St. Louis, it's the fact that by 55 minutes, Jack McGlynn put that ball in and the game was over.
No,
when was the last time have you seen that against LAFC?
Look, my comparison with Dolo ball is when we had Bob Bradley, we dominated games with 55 to 60% possession and teams had no hope against us. With Dolo ball, it was the opposite. We dominated games with 40% possession and teams didn't have hope against us. I think MDS wants to play with more than 40% possession, but I don't think the current roster we have is built to play a game with 60% possession and really win. When we've seen this roster this year at a few times play with a lot of possession, they don't really do much with it. And I think that's the problem. They need this team is a counter puncher.
And we used to be as well, but we can't seem to do it without completely falling apart. And again, the behavior, the body language really stresses me out, Eric, because it's very interesting how, again, under Dolo, because again, maybe this is a nostalgic Dolo show for me. Every time we seemed to be beaten up and down, he would come back. And I've seen it over and over again. We would get beat up at home, like, oh my God, like against Columbus. Oh my God, what happened? Next game, we were back on. And then we go on a run. So where do you think LAFC goes from this point? Do you think it's a free fall, or do you think it's just a blip? The guys were tired. We're going to be back. We're going to continue to dominate the Western Conference and be a good playoff team.
No, like there's no rest.
I think it's over.
Yeah, there's no. Right now at this point, they need to get to the World Cup break. It's just about trying not to bleed much more into the World Cup break, that's my only we get blown up because once the break comes, we're gonna have the summer transfer window. The team's gonna have time to kind of regroup and get things together. And I think it's a different story. But for right now, it's just like they're playing every 3 days. There's not
so
really
all MLS, man. Like all the teams are going to continue to have midday games, right? So like you can't say that that's a difference maker for us anymore. Some of the teams are playing US Open now, Open Cup, and then those teams are there as well. Nashville's doing well on their side, and they went as far as the tournament as well. As someone said here, let's put the legs argument to the side this year because everyone has a roster and everyone has the same constrictions as us, and everyone has pretty much for the last 2-3 weeks had the same schedule as us, bro. Like, I disagree with you. I'm sorry. Like, I think this fucking thing about like people being tired with our roster is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We have too much depth to do that. You know that. You know the guys that we have.
I couldn't disagree with you anymore on this one, Celso. It's obvious that these players are tired. It's obvious they haven't been.
I think the fatigue is up here, though.
No, it's in the legs too. It's like it's all together. If your body's tired, your mind's going to be a little tired as well, and it's going to be frustrating because you're not reacting as quickly as you can to things, and you're not moving as at the end of the game like you were.
Okay, that's a good argument. I don't disagree with that. I can't disagree with you.
Now, Houston has not played nearly as many games as us. San Jose didn't play nearly as many games as us. Portland didn't play nearly as many games. The only team that really has is Nashville, who we will play this next upcoming weekend. So, I mean, those guys look tired to me. They look tired in the field. And if they look tired, they probably are tired, especially when you look at basically a historic congestion run because of the World Cup break. Now, again, I don't feel this was really managed properly. Over and over, I would say, hey, leave the starters at home. Just don't even travel with them. But every game they traveled with all the starters except for Son 2 games. And not only that, they all played 45 minutes. And then we see these gassed out guys that have they've been running to the ground at this point. And they have another 3 games to go until the break that are coming within 10 days of each other. So
look,
there's no rest.
If I may interject, I think one of the bigger issues, and you see, I'm going to mention even 2 players that Houston has, and Nally being one of them. Excellent young guy, proven young guy. What we haven't had for a while outside of Nate the Great Ordaz, he's a proven young player that can put some quality minutes for us when these guys are actually tired. 18-year-olds don't get as tired as 32-year-olds. Trust me on this motherfucker, because I know I'm 45 plus. I know this shit. But this is the thing. Like, they have proven guys that have been there for a while in their system and can very easily go to the first team. Whereas, you know, Marc's still experimenting with 1 or 2 dudes on the fringe, right? And Kenny Nielsen is not a young dude. He's not a young guy. He's just 24. A recycle bro that's been in the lower levels and can put some minutes up for us. So fuck Kenny Nielsen. No offense to you, buddy, but I want to see the youth guys that we haven't seen yet. Lorenzo De La Valle, the ultimate injured man. What happened to him? I want to know his story. But beyond that, I just feel like it's poor use of a youth, and you and I agree on this. Something is wrong. We have to do something about it. And here comes St. Louis. 2 days later, no excuses. They've been tired. They've been playing. They're not having a good season. They're having mental issues, psychological issues around their best player. So let's talk about that game. Where does LAFC go from here? Do we completely overhaul this team for this game?
I mean, we don't really have much of a choice. I think you have to rotate guys for one of these games. Getting it over with now seems a lot better to me. Like you just need to rest all these starters and give them some time because, again, you roll them out. Like even this 45-minute stuff, it's rough. And this is a road game to St. Louis. They come back home, and then it's a road game all the way to Nashville for the weekend. So, it's a lot of travel in there. We're talking good, almost 10,000 miles of travel in the air, or, they're going to be spending 10.
Henry's got the idea that matters.
Yeah. They're going to be spending, Nashville's a 5-hour flight. St. Louis is a 3.5-hour flight, 4-hour flight. So that's 8 hours on one day and then another 11 on the other day. So they're over the next 10 days, they're spending 20 hours on an airplane. So this adds up.
It does add up. And by the way, I looked up possession and stats numbers from the last game. So you had actually a game that LAFC tried to play different, and it did not work out. But the volume of shots, the offensive volume looked a lot better. 62-38 LAFC on the possession against Houston. 20 shots against 12 from Houston, but only 6 on goal from each side. So while I felt we had volume, we had a lot of passing, we had a lot of shooting, they were not effective. And meanwhile, McGlynn was just kind of sitting there looking for dimes in places of the field, like on the play that I mentioned in the second goal. Porteous goes out, and then he gets dribbled out, right? And then McGlynn's just sitting there in a spot while Porteous is retrieving too fast and doesn't have a chance to react to that goal. Watch that goal and tell me if Ryan Porteous, with the volume of games that he's had, should be playing 3/3 or 3/4 of the field up. It's absurd. That's on the coaching staff. That's on trying to do too much. And that's a little bit of that nutty professor feel that I get sometimes when I watch Marc Dos Santos' teams. All right. So again, a little bit of a rant there, but a little bit of a context as well, that just because you have possession doesn't mean you're going to win. But it does mean that you're going to have the ball more, and you better be very savvy with it, because if the other team's a good counter team, they're going to burn you with the same thing that you're trying to do to them. So, shout out to the Houston coaching staff. Once again, these guys always have our number. They always have our number. In the game that we won at Houston, Eric, they were missing several key players, and they had that bizarre red card. You remember that. So is this – you said we have until the World Cup to fix this shit. I don't think Marc Dos Santos has until the World Cup to fix this shit.
There's no fixing it until the World Cup. That's what I said.
You have to fix it, brother.
How?
You have to fix it until the World Cup.
When?
I don't know. We were winning in the beginning of the season. We have to find a way to win again behind the same way that we've always won. You unlock Denis Bouanga. And you find a way to make Denis play. Denis has been locked, completely not himself. I hate that. So that's the big issue to me. How do you unlock Denis Bouanga, a guy that has been in I'm going to say like the best that we've seen him over the last few years? Is this the formula? Do you move Sonny up front and have them take on, the most of the goals, and then try someone else on the 10? Maybe bring Tillman into that position once again. It doesn't seem to have worked for us. None of these little things have worked for us.
One of the problems yesterday, and one of the problems with Schaffelberg with this group, is that Schaffelberg is not really a threat at goal. So when Schaffelberg has the ball on the left side, the defender kind of has to play to block the cross, but otherwise everybody else can cover the targets. It's like that's kind of one of the problems with that. We had I forget who it was. We had another player that was kind of like that too. I can't remember now, but same thing. Or Bouanga's like at times where he's not a threat to pass the ball, so people can kind of cover him. What would I do with Bouanga? I think that we hope that this transfer window, there's somebody that wants to put an offer anywhere near close to what we offered with him before. I think Bouanga, like, number one, my goal, I want to see us win a CCC. I care about that more than the cup. And I think it's time to start putting the team together to make the next run at it. I think a lot of our players, Denis Bouanga is one of them, Sergi Palencia, Ryan Hollingshead, Marky Delgado, Tim Tillman. I do not see these guys in our next 1 to 2 year plan on running for these titles. I think these guys have had a couple shots at it. They've fallen flat every time. They've fallen flat in a similar disappointing way every time where they don't show up, and I need to see something new. And if we get some...
who showed up every single time? Chicho Arango. Go look him up if you're new to LAFC. That motherfucker showed up no matter what. And I know he's crazy, and I'm not saying we'll go get him, but I always felt like that guy showed up. We always could count on him to show the
look. And that's the thing. What I want to see this window is I want to see replacements for these guys. And if they come out and don't perform, then it's time to look at Marc Santos, who I think should stay till the end of the year. Give him 1 year and see what happens. We'll see if that's the case or not. And next, you got to look further up the chain at the front office and say, hey, why aren't we getting there? And then you look at, is the problem the roster rules? If it is, I think the 2DP for U22 is a good enough formula to keep you competitive every year, but it's not enough to take you up to that top prize.
So if they win, if they end up transferring Martinez for a shitload of money, right, and they don't lose money on Smoley, you can make the argument that U22 is good for the owner's pockets, but it doesn't help us win the titles, right? Because they're making money off these guys, then it's all good. And again, they didn't lose money on some of the other players, right? So it's easier to go get U22s out there than try to develop a player in your backyard. And I've seen sometimes, I think when you take on a U22 from another country and you try to give them everything, you're going to open up a spot that you should be from an LAFC2 player, right? And the greatest example of that is the Smoliakov saga, which kind of happened after Luca Bombino went to San Diego. We just could never find that player replaced. So you were right to just when you brought it up early, Matt Evans and Jude Terry both scored for LAFC2 on the win against the Monarchs. And yes, why are these guys not featured every game? Why are they not getting minutes? Why are we seeing the likes of Tyler Boyd, the recycle MLS faces?
Yeah. Your mic kind of went a little
Sorry,
teeny. Oh, good.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I've been really, really thinking long and hard about this from a roster building salary cap perspective. And, the thing is with the 4 U22s, it gives us that extra $2 million in GAM that if we don't have that wipes out 3 veterans, So you really need to replace these veterans with homegrown people that don't count against the salary cap. So the positions you can play or pay aren't covered in that, if we had a left back that was solid, we didn't have to have Hollingshead there. We could just leave Segura as a backup, that wipes 600K off of our books that we now reinforce a different position. If we have Jude Terry there, we don't have Eustachio, who doesn't really, we have the room to pick him up because it was a loan. But, when Jude Terry comes in, all of a sudden that's another 600 to 800K off the books wiped out. That was $1.2 million you throw at other positions,
Just keep trying to fill it up with these the Raposos of the world and making these guys projects, the Tyler Boys and I'm not trying to pick on Tyler.
We're going to see a lot of him because Sergio Palencia is injured. It looked like his injury will keep him out for a little bit as well. So we're going to see a little bit of that.
Oh my God, it doesn't get better for us, does it? That's really crazy. All right, man. Let's talk about predictions in terms of who you want to start. Great point. Palencia might be out for an extended period of time. We'll probably hear more about that tomorrow, right? In terms of coaching staff talking to us, but look, man, we got to turn this around. We can't fuck around here. MLS should be our only responsibility now from this point forward. And these guys are pros. You move on from CCL. Yeah, we wanted it. We got close. We didn't make it. But now you're going into St. Louis, a very bad team. Yeah, I believe Hollingshead's going to have something to do with this position that he wants to give to Raposo. But
Matt Evans has played right back as well.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, don't put this kid to be on the hardest position on the field after one of our defensive leaders comes out. I think it's unfair. I'm just saying it's not.
No, you got a point. I mean, that's Tristan Blackman 2020. He was,
you know what I mean?
He was supposed,
and then suddenly he's trash, and then he's on his way. You know,
he never was for me. He was supposed to be the center back to replace Walker Zimmerman when we sold him after 20.
He was good at center,
but
he was a victim of the whole rules and stuff. He would still be here if he wasn't up to us.
He was a victim of Steven Beitashour getting injured. And then he was also a victim of Andy Nahar getting injured, who was also there that season. So we lose both of our right backs. And then they tried Latif Blessing back there, and then they threw Tristan Blackman in there. But he was always supposed to be a center back for LAFC. So that's kind of what happens when these injuries derail guys. And again, hey, back to my point, this happens because our salary cap, we have 20 senior team roster slots. That's it. You need more than 20 roster slots to compete in all this stuff.
The interesting part, yes, I think the roster slots is our big issue. If you I talked to Zanata, the GM at Dallas, and that was the one thing he said. Like, he was a GM in Brazil, and for all of you that have brought up Brazil as being kind of like the comparison, he's like, this guy we have no flexibility in terms of roster space, and despite the number of games we play, it's hard to manage a roster when all your guys start going down. You see Toronto, everyone's injured there. It's kind of crazy. You just don't want this shit to happen to us. I'm going to go with my starting lineup, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
That will be Ulori's in goal. He looked a little slow. I think he could have stopped one of those McGlynn shots, but, who am I to say anything? Right back, tough position. I think Raposo or Hollingshead would be fine. 50-50 there. I think Hollingshead is the more natural position there because he's always been a right back and he's been with us for a long time. So maybe there, but you need some depth, right? And he can play both sides of the field. So you might want to keep him out just from a depth perspective and let the specialists take over that, even though Raposo's not necessarily a right back. It's kind of crazy. In the middle, again, I don't understand some of these decisions. Suddenly, Aaron Long is back, and I don't know if he suffered some sort of setback. He was available off the bench, but he didn't start. We started Eddie Segura, a guy that had not seen the pitch 2 games in a row. I dislike that very much. Please put Aaron Long back into this game. If he can't play, that's different than list him as injured. List him as questionable. We don't know anything about that. Porteous looked bad. But so I'd maybe start Tafari in there, but I would go back to starting Long over Segura and have those 3 out there. In the midfield, Eustachio, we didn't talk too much about him. He looked good in the first half to me, and he was a guy that he was sprinting back, right, on the second half. So I would start Eustachio again. He's alone. Let's just use everything we can out of him. He's a great player. He's only going to get better. But you got to recognize that by the 50th minute, he might be gassed. We need to get him out, right? Especially if you don't have Tintillen out there as a third midfielder for us. I think that really hurt us. Delgado's take a seat. He's been terrible. So I want to see maybe a young player in Delgado's spot, or, again, just Chonier coming in there and starting. Markey, thank you, but no thanks. We're good with you. And then on the other, again, if we start Tillman on the mid, which I would, and then up top would be Martinez or Das, which I think has to start for us. Nope, can't do that. Ordaz would not start. Sorry. Sonny and Bouanga obviously finishing the 11 there. But no, you got to find a way to put some of these guys together, the guys that are really moving the needle for us, and make them all cohesive, right? Who are the best 11 that you have, Mark? That's the question, Eric. Who are the best 11 players for LAFC right now? I have no idea because of all the damn substitution patterns and changes that he's done in this 20 games that we played this season.
Yeah. All right,
man.
My starting lineup, and I'm going to do some projection on this as to like how I want to see this roster look at after the break. And, there's no spoiler alert. I would like to see probably 7 or 8 guys move on from this team and replace them with new people.
Eric,
so,
I love it.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll start with the front because that part's easy to me. Denis Bouanga is going to be back in. Nathan Ordaz, Heung-min Son, and David Martinez. These four are.
They have to play at all times. Okay, yeah. I love that.
I don't play Eustachio because, like I said, I think Eustachio we're not gonna exercise his loan because financially it doesn't really make sense. If we're going to spend that kind of money, I think we could get as good somewhere else. And my other issue with Eustachio is I believe he had a bit of an injury problem in Portugal, and he comes here and he kind of has an injury problem, even though it was Drew Fisher had something to do with it. But nonetheless,
the referee of yesterday's game
that we get this guy for 4 months and he misses a month and a half of it to injury during the critical phase. So it's like, why would you pay $7 million for a guy that you lose a third of the time you needed him? So I would keep him out. Midfield, again, Jude Terry. I would have Jude Terry back there. I know he needs to work on it because he basically he's been
getting minutes with us, so I like it, but
sure,
I think he can get more. I think he can get more. And when I see him with the twos, he looks good, not great. Still not great, but
I'm coming out again with a 4-2-3-1. So Jude would be one of my double pivots. Also, shout out. Well, I think Igor Jesus should start to be healthy pretty soon. I imagine he should be practicing with the team fairly soon. Assuming
that's a good question. The reports were after the World Cup he will be ready. He would be ready. That was we've always told that.
It was an ACL. We were there at that game when he blew his ACL. I was in Dallas. And
I'm sure we can get a timetable on his return tomorrow if I can join the press or just
ACLs. Look,
see how he's doing.
ACLs are 9 months. 9 months before you're really going. Typically in sports, if you're 10 months, you're back playing is a fast recovery. 10.5 to 11 months is kind of the average for a professional athlete off of an ACL to come back in. So that should be about early July that we start to see him ready, which
there'll be cup time.
So after the World Cup, he should be back. So I will love to see Igor Jesus. He's been badly missed and a very valuable player. And we said that last year when he went out. This will be a different team when he comes back, assuming that he heals well and he gets back to his old form. But for this game, I sit Delgado. Delgado and Tillman are just kind of dead to me. Like I really, if I don't see them on the field anymore, I'm not going to be upset. Like I just want to see the future there, and I don't see these guys as a viable future for winning teams. So, Chonier. So basically, Jude Terry and Chonier is who I'd put there. I also would probably play with Chonier at right back at some point. Once we get more time to practice, I think that's a position he might be able to also
play. Because if I look at my photos and I take a lot of Palencia photos just because of the placement, he's always right next to Palencia. They're very close, but he's a dog, right? He's covering a lot of ground for us, and I really like where he plays. And when him and Tillman don't play, the midfield disappears. So I think those two guys, as much as you hate Tillman, as much as we hate Tillman, we collectively as a
we like him for just a little bit this year.
No, we love and hate him, bro. Like it's a love and hate relationship in the motherfucker because he's always going to be cursed by that 2 million view post of Justin Ruderman where he just says shit about Liga MX, which was a horrible thing to say, right? He just basically said Liga MX is not technical enough, and every single time we see it, they just walk laps around it. It's just horrible.
LAFC is not going to raise a Continental Trophy with Tim Tillman on the team. Or
Henry
Marc
has the greatest questions. And
for a lot of their guys.
Let's end with this question and your prediction.
I still have to get my
bad. Oh shit, my bad, man. I'm
still lineupping. Sorry, and I go on.
Your lineup is a story like your articles, homie.
Yeah. So anyway, my midfield is Jude Terry and Chonier. That's who I would play. The back line, I would put Raposo at right back because I do not want to see Hollingshead on the field anymore. And then I would play Smolyakov on this one on the left just because of St. Louis. They're a little weaker team. Maybe play Segura the next against Nashville. And then for the back two, I would go with Tafari and Long. And only because Porteous looks like he needs a rest, But I do think
he looks exhausted.
I do think that Porteous and Long, if Long gets back into form and is playing like the Long we remember, Achilles are very tough at his age, so he may never be that guy. But if he gets back to it, I think Porteous and Long are our starting and our best two center backs. So Lloris in goal also. Poor Lloris, man. I think that guy is just getting bummed out because of just the way things have been shaking. Because if there's one person that's kept us in this season, it's been Lloris at this point.
Yeah, and just still 6 shots on goal for the opposition.
DP.
And we know how hard it is. Yeah. So let's talk about this DP before we do our predictions here. It's been a good show, mellow show, 40 minutes of mellowness.
Yes, I'm mellow today.
I mean, it's just been like, I don't know, gonna drag it a little bit. It's all good. It's just not enough punch, but it's MLS. You're like, you just took it out in MLS. I'm like, yay. You see our Thursday show? You know how we feel? Anyway.
So
what do you do this?
My answer to this is yes, absolutely. We have the world
out there.
Look, the World Cup ending is a unique transfer window amongst transfer windows every 4 years because so many players are building up to this. Maybe this is their last World Cup. Maybe they're getting there.
Yeah.
We're guys who are on their first World Cup and show good. Let's face it, they're not coming to MLS. Unless it's on a very periphery team and it's like whatever. But those DP level veterans that you wouldn't think are ready to come here, but they turn out to be,
Giroud played the final in Qatar, and then he came to us, not much longer after that. So, it's possible. Hugo Lloris was played the final in Qatar against Messi. He's here right after that. So, I can see it. I can see a lot of these guys kind of already towards the end of their career too.
So I think that DP signing should be there. If LAFC can work their homegrowns and we can get 3 or 4 homegrowns in the field, I think going for 3 DP becomes a real option. But if we can't get production out of homegrowns, we have to go with the 4 U22s just for the extra GAM money, because otherwise we just one injury and we're struggling to stay afloat at that point.
And we know we don't like the third DP. It's just not something, even when we had just that avenue, we avoided like the play. We just didn't like having 3 overpaid players.
But
but that's just not what he does. That's not what John Thornton does.
Look, if somehow JT goes out there and gets Casemiro to come play with Igor, and he can talk, and then he talks Harry Kane into coming and playing with Son as 3 DPs, like, you fucking roll with that, Are you kidding?
He's not coming here either. He doesn't have anybody to cross into his fucking head. He's looking at Scheffelberg and he's saying, "No way, I ain't doing it." As
a hypothetical.
I'm just saying. I think Casemiro's locked either with the Galaxy or Miami. I think Miami is probably.
If you get 2 players like that, you go 3 DP.
Come on, Chad. What do you got? Who do you got? Come on, Henry. You got ideas? Yeah, I mean, like I don't think.
Thanks, Jack.
He's just getting shat on by Jack.
Jack, come on.
I mean,
no. Hey, I agree, Jack.
Look. Just go look at the Houston game. You don't even need that much. Guilherme was looking like a champ, just making rounds and rounds around Ryan Porteous. You can go for a mid-tier guy that just scores, or can go to the midfield, get the ball, dribble 2 people, and create a play. That's who we need. We need a guy that can actually break some lines with his dribble. We have nobody. I love this one. It comes up a lot. It would take like politics for this to work, right? You have to go with the whole team in there. JT has to pitch the thing. JT has to basically make this whole presentation for Raul and say, you're going to be the guy. We're going to get rid of – you got to find a suitor for Denis Bouanga. I think this is pie in the sky, even though I love it. Evander, unbelievable name, but he's a diva. He's Brazilian, and he costs way too much money for what he's worth. And Cincinnati has the same issues that we have. They can't get past the last round. So why would you go after this guy? What else? Who else? Frankie de Jong. I don't know this guy. I don't know it, but I love the fact that you go after someone that is losing value, right? Someone that contracts have, I don't know, you can find them in some sort of level, right? And you don't have to waste a DP contract on that. But I think that's a little bit of pie in the sky, right? Yeah, I think Raul goes to Club America as well.
You know, and I was just putting some examples up as like an opportunity that's too good to pass up. You know what I mean? So, I'll be there. There's lots of look.
Maybe the opportunity that was too good to pass on was the Fluminense bid for our man Denis Bouanga, which would have put us in a big hole for CCL. I get it. You couldn't play the CCL without him.
We wouldn't have made it past Cruz Azul if we didn't have Bouanga.
And then so what? Now, so fucking what? What did that really change for us? We were one away from a final no matter what, dude. You find ways. And that's why if you live and die by Denis Bouanga with sprinkles of Tim Tillman on top of that, as you said, we need a rehaul. But do we really need to rehaul this, or do we need to just find a couple of players that could keep us going? We have to do predictions and get out of here 46 minutes. I know, man. I'm just telling you, dude. Like, I mean,
I don't see the dog in enough guys on this
rehaul
team.
Means white flag, bro. And the reality of the matter is, it's still LAFC is the sixth best team in this league up to this day, having played this whole other tournament. But beyond them, at home, you only have 5 teams on top of them. They're all really good teams. Vancouver, New England, Real Salt Lake, Nashville, San Jose Earthquakes. And after that, LAFC has the most wins at home. Away, same thing. We're very consistent. But we have a very nasty window here. A nasty window of 3 games before our break. 3 games. We got San Luis, which is going to be easy, but short legs, right? We have to go there and kick some ass. San Luis has 1 win at home. Your prediction for that? And then we're going to do we're not going to do it, but again, after that, it's Nashville, one of the best teams at home that you can expect this weekend. We'll break that game down on Thursday. And then you have Seattle. Of all the teams, we have to play Seattle. Our last game before the World Cup. So a nasty window. It could really decide the fate of Marc dos Santos after these 2 games. So prediction for San Luis, and the real final question of the show is this fit for Marc dos Santos if he goes 0-3 after basically what it's like 10 days? Has to be, right? How do you bring this man back? Say, Mark, thanks, but go back to picking up the cones. Which someone brought it up on Twitter. I thought it was so disrespectful.
Regarding that, I will say that when this World Cup ends, there's going to be a lot of coaches available. And a lot of
Harry says, no way, Jose.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think they're going to fire him. I think he'll roll out this season. But, you know, whether that's right or wrong, that's just how I think it'll go. This team really doesn't fire guys mid-season. They never have. And I don't see them quite doing it with this. Unless, of course, at the beginning of the season, they said, hey, we need a good, strong showing for CCC. Otherwise, everything's on the table, you know, just so you know. But I don't think anything like that was ever said. So I think he goes through the season, knowing us. Regardless how this goes, he probably goes through another season as well. You know, because it's.
You think he's going to be back next year? I disagree. I think he's in an extremely short leash. I think this guy's let's see if it works. We have a tournament coming up at the beginning of the year. It could be a good audition for us. And so far, it's mixed results. You can't say he's been all bad, because there shows, if you go back, that we're praising him for his creativity, for what he's tried, for what he's brought out of players. But, you know, when it came push to shove, he did basically the same as his counterpart. He lost on the road. Again, like against the quarters.
Some of the things, like the first leg of Toluca, every set piece, you push all 3 center backs up because of your set piece height advantage. Little things like that I liked. I would never see that out of Dolo. I'd never see that out of Bradley. Like, he did add a lot of little wrinkles to the scheme. But at the end of the day, I think it's the load management is where he kind of went bad with everything. Mm-hmm. So, at the end of the day, we're going to see what happens, and a lot of new guys coming up. And but I like him. I would like to see him finish up the season. I also think again that the personnel isn't quite what he would prefer for his style, whether his style is a good one or not. So
that's a good point. He needs a window. He needs to go sit with his GM and say, hey, man, these are the things that I need in order to do my job. I don't play like Dolo. These are the differences. These are the guys I need to go because they don't fit my system anymore. And this is a list of players that I really like. Let's go see if we can get them. That's very simple. That's what professional coaches do.
The last thing, and this is on the front office, for if they did get rid of him, I would really be critical of the front office for putting him in a really shitty position. Because if he's here on a trial basis, total dead record.
Position that is shitty position as a head coach for a Major League Soccer, but no offense.
he should have taken over after the Miami CCC loss last year and finished up last season when Dolos announced he was leaving in 7 months. MDS should have taken it over then, and that would have been his audition. And then we can see what we got or whether we need to go. But they didn't. They made his audition this year. And a 3-4 month audition is kind of shit.
JT lives in the present, which it makes me really nervous. He lives in the present, and we know he does. He judges you by how you're doing curling. And unfortunately for LAFC, we're not doing terrible. Could we do terrible? Good question. This is a good question here. As a stats number guy, what's the probability he stays if he bombs for the next few games? Very high. I would put it over 50%. I would put the probability of him living mid-season to be very small. It would take something from the inside. A leader saying, I don't trust them, or some sort of implosion, right? Coupled with the fact that you have buy-in from the front office, that there's another name out there already guaranteed. JT doesn't fire anyone thinking that someone else is not ready for that job. But if he has another plan, and if he thinks that Marc Dos Santos is not the guy, I wouldn't be surprised if we pivot, because we are the type of team that when we see failure, we pivot. We don't let it go to shit. So this window is going to be critic for everyone involved. JT, Marc, and I do believe he stays, even if he gets completely shelled after 3 games. But the first game after the break is what? The Galaxy with a brand new team. And if that's a complete shell, he will be in very ridiculous thin ice. I can't even stress you, and he would not finish the season if we suddenly look like we're not going to make the playoffs because we're tanking. So, very grim outlook. I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. Eric, we need some predictions for this game, though. Let's do it.
3-1 LAFC loss.
Bam. You're talking loss, huh? All right. This is a team that has won 2 games in 2026, one at home, one away. They've had very big losses, very big embarrassing losses, horrible goal differential. And you're thinking they're going to be able to not only to beat us, but they're going to beat us by more than 1 goal difference. Holy shit.
Mamadou Mbake Fall is going to score 2 header goals off of corners.
I will not have the show on Monday if we do this. No, on Thursday. I'd be like, sorry, we're going to do it on Monday. I can't. I just can't.
This team has no time to recover. They have this game. They do have a week. They do have 1 week between Nashville and Seattle, so they'll finally get to spend some time on the training grounds instead of just recover, play, which they haven't been able to do. But again, as I said, they chose not to do, because they could have always kept their guys at home unless there's some clause that says you guys have to play starters every single game no matter what. I've never heard of this. It would be kind of a secret agreement. I don't think it's there, so that's that.
Yeah, this is a team that won at Colorado this weekend after losing to Austin, St. Louis, and Seattle. So it's a team that is coming from a dub on 10th of May. So, just don't underestimate them. They've had 4 losses in 8 games, but that doesn't mean they're going to take an L to us. They're trying to salvage their season. I don't see a 0-0 as a team that concedes a lot, and our defense is not very sharp. Again, if you're better, I would go over in this game. Just looking at stats and just kind of how this feels to me. And yeah, LAFC may lose again. I have not a lot of faith on this team. But, however, I'm going to go with a positive outcome because I'm a positive man. And Eric's so negative on us. I'm going to say we're going to squeeze one in past these dummies because they're a horrible team. They're a horrible team, and I cannot believe we're going to fold like that just because we lost 2 in a row. I think these are blips, and the LAFC will be back, a tiny little run, and out of these 3 games, we somehow managed to get 6 points.
I believe we've lost a lot of points. I believe we've lost 3 in a row, not 2.
Right, exactly. Thank you, because if you think about MLS. Yes. So my prediction to this game, 3-2, LAFC wins. Frantic game. I can't believe this happened. It was kind of how the earthquake games against St. Louis went. I have a feeling it's going to go very similar. LAFC gets the 3 points before heading to Nashville, and we're going to have a show on you for you guys on Thursday. We're going to try to bring a visitor guest to talk about Nashville since it's such a great team, how the culture and how their season's going, the fact that it ended the same way that ours did kind of sucked, right? I think it would be a good show if we have someone from Nashville to talk to. All right, Eric. Last words to you, my man.
LAFC, just give me a reason to be positive, please. Please. That's all I ask. I love positivity, and I hate it when I'm forced to be negative because I'm a realist.
Sounds good, man. I love you. I love you for it because we try to keep it balanced for that reason. Shout out to all the Sunny heads that join us and don't have a lot of LAFC, I would say, background. You know, we try to educate you. We're here. We want to see Sunny succeed, right? But we're also a team that believes on this thing first. We believe on the crest. We've seen a lot of good players come through here, but it doesn't matter. We come for the badge, and we want to see the guys do this very same thing, whether you're Sonny, Giroud, Carlos Vela has a reason. We have a reason why we adore that man. He wore the badge. There it is. He wore the badge, and we'll continue to honor the badge more than we honor the player. See you guys Thursday. It's been a pleasure.